In the year 2023, are we still afraid of the curse of the pharaohs? Imagine you're part of a team of European archaeologists who have received a license to explore the inside of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's every history buff's dream come true. You've been planning this expedition for years, and now you and your colleagues are finally standing in front of the ancient wonder of the world. With the help of modern equipment, you want to uncover sealed chambers that haven't seen human eyes in thousands of years. What could be more exciting than that? As it turns out, there are rumors that an ancient curse protects the resting place of the pharaohs. According to legend, everyone who dares disturb their eternal sleep will be punished. But you're a team of scientists. You don't believe in fairy tales. However, when exploring the pyramid, you notice something strange. Mysterious things happen to you and your colleagues. Are these just coincidences or signs that you shouldn't have entered the pyramid? On March 15, 1877, a British engineer named Wayne Man Dixon discovered an air pocket inside the Great Pyramid. He used this to drill a hole into the ancient monument and insert a small camera. It's said that the first view inside one of the chambers showed a coffin-like structure wrapped in bandages. Since then, there have been various expeditions to the Great Pyramid in which researchers tried to find this supposed chamber. The efforts ultimately failed because the entrance could not be found again. Even if there was actually a room there, it seems that it has been sealed up again. But let's imagine for a moment that the room really does exist and that it contains the secret of the pharaoh's curse. In 1986, a team of European archaeologists entered the Great Pyramid of Giza on a licensed expedition. They were equipped with state-of-the-art tools to explore sealed chambers untouched for thousands of years. One of them was Dr. Karl Morn, a German archaeologist who was known for his boldness and obsession with ancient mysteries. During their exploration of the pyramid, the researchers wanted to take a closer look at the so-called Queen's Chamber. According to legend, this is where the wives of the pharaohs Khufu and Khafra rested after their deaths. However, the team quickly noticed that there was more to the Queen's Chamber than met the eye. It became clear to the experts that the official maps of the pyramid were incomplete. In fact, the researchers managed to open a narrow passage behind the king's chamber. This had remained hidden from the eyes of the world for thousands of years. Since nobody had ever looked through this opening before, it was a completely unknown part of the pyramid. It's easy to imagine how excited the team must have been at this point. After all, they were about to discover secrets of the ancient Egyptians that no one had seen for thousands of years. However, the researchers soon realized that the passage was extremely narrow and dangerous. It was only about 27 centimeters wide, 43 centimeters high, and 8 meters long. Anyone who wanted to crawl through it had to pull themselves forward while breathing through their mouth and had to move on all fours. At this point, the researchers knew very well that the chances of finding valuable treasures were very high. But even if they did discover gold, jewels, and precious stones, they would not be allowed to take the objects out of the country. Under no circumstances should the resting places of the dead be robbed. However, the researchers didn't seem to care much about gold or other valuables. They were far more interested in what might lie behind the closed door at the end of the narrow passage. But who dared to go through the passage? As you can probably already guess, it was none other than Dr. Karl Morn. Before he crawled through the narrow corridor, however, he made sure to say goodbye to his colleagues. In fact, he put his hands on the shoulders of his companions and blessed himself 3 times over his head. No one knew what went on in the man's head at the time. But if you ask us, Dr. Moore seemed to have some kind of strange hunch that he wouldn't make it out of the secret passage. After Dr. Morin had disappeared into the dark, narrow passage, several minutes passed without incident. But then, his colleagues began to get worried. Nobody had expected the trip through the corridor to take so long. After all, it was only a few meters that the German archaeologist had to cover. When Dr. Morn didn't respond to his colleagues' calls, a technician followed him. He crawled through the passage and soon reached the end. To his horror, Dr. Morn sat silently in the darkness. He hadn't moved for who knows how long. The researchers pulled Dr. Morn out of the tunnel as quickly as they could. Fortunately, the man was still alive. However, he breathed rapidly and his eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. For many hours, Dr. Morn was unable to come to his senses. But when he finally came to, something in him had changed. His colleagues soon realized that their friend was no longer the same. He spoke in a strange tone and seemed very confused. When someone asked him what he saw, Dr. Morn whispered, "The eyes, they were watching me, the walls, and they were alive." The researchers left the pyramid shortly afterwards. Of course, no one wanted to stay there another minute. Officially, the expedition ended the next day due to bad weather, but there was more behind the sudden end of the excavation work. Dr. Morn spent the following months in a clinic in Germany. He had vanished from public records. What did the man experience in the uncharted part of the pyramid? Was there a secret chamber behind the wall, or did Dr. Morn stumble upon a hidden burial chamber by accident? These questions have never been answered. But let's assume for a moment that the German archaeologist actually stumbled upon a secret burial chamber in the pyramid. In fact, when researchers checked the secret passage a few weeks later, they found mysterious inscriptions on the wall. "He who awakens the guardian shall walk in darkness forever," the text says, among other things. If this is really the case, then it seems as if the ancient Egyptians had foreseen that explorers would wake up the guardian of the underworld by breaking the seal of the pyramid. But wait, it gets weirder. In October 2007, a former assistant to Dr. Carl Morn leaked an audio recording to the public. The man had worked as a young assistant during the excavations in the Great Pyramid. On the recording, you can hear Dr. Morn speaking fluent ancient Egyptian. He recited what sounded like a spell, although the expert had never dealt with the language before the expedition. How could he suddenly speak ancient Egyptian fluently? And why did he recite a spell? We will probably never know for sure what happened to Dr. Carl Morn in the Great Pyramid of Giza. There are countless theories about this. Some people claim that the German archaeologist simply succumbed to a previously unknown disease in the pyramid. Others believe that Dr. Morn encountered a secret sarcophagus in the pyramid. However, there are also those who believe that the German archaeologist did not return to our world after passing through the secret passage, but got stuck in another dimension instead. But one thing is certain, there is no trace of the German archaeologist today. He disappeared without a trace after visiting the Great Pyramid. We may never know what the strange inscriptions on the walls meant, or what Dr. Morn experienced in the secret passage. However, we do know that such stories only serve to further fuel the public's interest in the Great Pyramids, and it's unlikely that we'll stop exploring and uncovering the secrets of these structures anytime soon. Did you enjoy the story? Then watch the video on the screen now.